Okay, this is going to be a quick hit video on AutoCAD 2023, doing some inquiry items. And so we're going to start out here by quickly creating a basic drawing and doing some of the tasks that would be typically done during an inquiry drawing. So let's go ahead and get started here. We're just going to create a rectangle. And with this rectangle, we'll throw a circle on the top, and we'll throw another circle. That was a right mouse click, pop-up circles again. Again, I'm not too concerned on sizing. However, if you were actually creating a drawing, you'd be doing it to specific dimensions. I'm going to go ahead and trim these. It kind of looks mouse ear-like, but we'll throw a couple of quick fillets on. Remember to type the letter R first for radius, and we'll do a 0.25 radius. It'll be pretty small, but it should work. Oh, it's going to be very small. This is a very big drawing. How big is the drawing? Well, to give you an idea, that's got a radius of 2.14. We have a overall distance from side to side here of about 12, and so a fillet, type the letter R, we'll do a 1-inch fillet on these here, and even a 1-inch fillet is going to be fillet. By the way, you can always select the radius option also at the very bottom by selecting radius. We'll go 2-inch fillet. So it's interesting that we're not getting a fillet. And the reason why is because this was a rectangle originally. So that's what's causing the issue, I think. Was that since that was a rectangle and it still thinks of it as a rectangle. If I were to delete this and draw on a line, we might be able to create a fillet on the top here. Yeah, see the difference? All I did was redraw that line, and now the fillet comes in just fine. So again, creating shapes is important if you're going to create a slot. And we'll copy this. Pick this base point, bring it straight over, point and shoot. We'll say that that's 4 inches over. And we'll draw a couple of lines from the top, from the tangency locations to the intersection. And so it's from the center down, that intersection is the tangent point for the slots. And we'll trim these up. Now, a lot of times in these drawings is that they'll say the lower right-hand corner is coordinate, 2.35 by 2.35. And you're thinking, well, how am I going to get that there? So the easiest way to get that there is through the move command. So we select move, and we window around everything. Now, this changed a while back in terms of how you input coordinates. But when we're done selecting objects, we always right mouse click, and now it asks for a base point. So this base point location is our lower right, or excuse me, lower left. And now you can see how it's attached to that base point. Now here's the key. The second point has to start out with a pound sign, aka the hashtag. So you do a shift number 3, which is the hashtag, and then start typing 2.35, and notice that it says hashtag 2.35 less than, which means that the angle is going to be at 39 degrees. Well, we don't want the angle. So since we don't want the angle, we have to go X, comma, Y. So this is X position. We're going to type a comma right here, and then type in the Y location. So we hit the comma, And notice that it changed away from the less than 39 now to a value, and we'll say 2.35. So now it's going to move that point to an exact location somewhere on the screen at 2.35 by 2.35 xy. And that's out of our little screen view, so we'll move this. Press and hold the wheel on the mouse will allow you to pan up. But literally that location, that position location is now 2.35 by 2.35. Well, how do we know that for sure? Well, if we hit and if I grip the, let's see here, this is still a series of, so this is still that. Okay, well, we'll see. We'll choose that, and we'll right mouse click and choose properties. And if we say properties on that object, we should see 2.35, which is the vertex X. Now it's saying that this is 4.707, but you can see that the 2.35 is clearly located here. Now if those were individual lines, I'd be able to pick just that single line. If I redraw that as lines, that's fine. If I put another feature there, we'll have the ability to select that feature. If I put a circle in this location, okay, if I just put a circle right here and I grip the circle vertex is 2.35 by 2.35. Bingo. So it moved that corner to that exact location. Okay, now what other major changes or things do we see in 2023? Well, the utilities are still here. The measure option and the distance and area, all those are still there. So I've already shown you one option, which is the gripping the object and then right mouse click and properties. That's always one question on the inquiry tools. The second one is distance. If we choose distance, it's going to say, well, what's the distance between 2 points, or what's the angle in the XY plane? And I'll show you how that works. So if we pick that same location, that lower point, and the second point I'm going to pick is the center point of the arc. Well, there's no center point in the middle. I have to highlight the edge of the arc here, and then the center point will pop up for us to select. So now once I do that, it gives me data on the screen with little dashed lines. However, the key data is down here at the bottom. So it tells me the distance was 13.15 inches, the angle in the XY plane, picking in the direction that I did, was 20 degrees, and the delta X, Y, and Z, which is the change in the X and the Y and the Z direction, is indicated also. Well, that information is actually shown on the screen here. There's the delta X, delta Y, overall distance, and you can't really see this, but the XY plane is actually under the pop-up there. So again, look at the bottom of the screen. All that information is there, especially when it's asking you the distance between 2 points. One of the things that pops up every so often is quadrant or a node. So the way that works is the same scenario. We do a distance command. We'll pick this first point, the anchor point. The second one, we'll hold the shift key down and use the right mouse button. And that brings up a temporary selection list of snap locations. And in this case, I can pick quadrant. So quadrant is on that list. And when I pick quadrant, it's going to pick the 2 quadrant points, which in this case is the 90 location or the 0 location or the 180 location. But in this case, we'll pick the upper quadrant. And so now again, we get the distance between that point and the quadrant location. So again, utilizing that shift right mouse button to pop up the object snap selection as a temporary pop makes that an easy selection to make also. So the third one is a little bit trickier, and that is the area command. And there's 2 ways to invoke this. Like sometimes it'll say, well, what's the circumference of this shape? Well, we need to find the area of that shape, or the polyline of that shape. And we can do that through the hatch command and the boundary tool that's found under the hatch tool. But before we do that, I always create a brand new layer. It's really important to just generate a couple of new layers, a couple of new colors, because you want to make sure what you're working with is colorized. And that way you know what shape or what area position you happen to be working in. So in this case, I'll use layer 1. We'll come over here under that hatch command. There is the boundary command. So under boundary, it's going to create a new line under layer 1. So layer 0 still is the base layer that we drew on. We should be actually drawing on a separate object layer, but for this example, we'll go with it. We'll pick boundary, and it says that it wants us to pick a point. And so the internal point is going to be inside this slot. It highlights the slot information. We hit the enter key, and you'll notice that it turned blue. Well, it turned blue because it created a brand new object on layer 1. Well, that object has properties, so I can grip it, right mouse click, choose properties, which already has popped up over here. And with the properties, if we scroll down the property list and take a look at the different properties, this polyline should give us a circumference overall. It tells us the area and it tells us the length, which is the circumference, which is 10.80. So all the way around this, it's 10.80 inches. The area of that shape is 4.20 square inches. So the information is found for individual objects under properties. Again, 2 points, distance, and the third one is area. So I'm going to go under layer 2 now. Under the drop down, there is the area command. Rule is we always add area first, and then we subtract out any holes, or in this case the slot. So we choose the area command. At the bottom it says specify what you're going to do. Well, what we're going to do is add an object. So we're going to add the object. Well, if we add an object, we have to pick every single one of these things. So if we made a boundary out of this first, the area command would have been smoother. So, tip is to create a boundary of the shape before you start the area command. And then we just learned how to do that. We pick boundary, pick a point inside the shape, hit the enter key, and now notice that everything has got a new color. So this has actually got 3 items now on top of it. The slot does. Alright, so back to area. Down here it says specify what we want to do. So we want to add an area. We always add first. We want to add an object. So I'm selecting object. And now I'm going to pick the outer shape. So we add the object to the outer shape. Now once we're done selecting that object, I right mouse click or hit the enter key on the keyboard. When I do that, it gives me the ability to subtract area. So I'm going to subtract area of an object, and I'm going to pick out the slot. And notice that the 2 different colors indicate the add and the subtract. And when I hit the enter key, it's going to give us, well, it gives us a running total as we work, but we'll hit the enter key and hit the enter key once more. Now it provides us that the total area is 71.10, but again, it gives us that running total automatically as we were working along that process. So now we can calculate what that area is, and then we also had the perimeter listed there as part of that listing. So it told us that the area of the slot was 4.2, which we knew that from the previous, that the perimeter was that large, and that when it subtracted, it gave us that value. And again, all I'm doing is dragging it up so you can see how this process worked with the object, because we did it fairly quickly. We did an area, first add mode, then we added objects and we selected the outer shape, and that gave us a 75.3 area and a perimeter of 43. We then hit the enter key and we chose subtract area and then object, and then we subtracted the slot, which gave us the resultant area of 71.10. So in essence, 2023 is pretty much the same as all previous versions. The processes work exactly the same as before, but there are again some key things, and the icons do look slightly different, otherwise that they're more colorized as we go forward. But again, remember, take it step by step. There's only 3 commands that you use to inquire about drawings: properties, distance, area. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.